live. Thank you so much for showing up as always. I'd like to start out these live streams by saying that I always appreciate you taking your time to them. Whether you're watching it now or you're going to watch it in the rerun, either way, taking your time, which is a very expensive and precious commodity these days, spending a little bit of yours with me is really greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. Hope everybody is doing well out there. While I am waiting for more people to show up into the live stream here, let me see how I'm doing. Let's back this up a little bit. There we go, and move this over here. It's funny. YouTube really wanted to promote people doing horizontal videos, and they gave you an option of having vertical right now or horizontal, and they started putting out little advisories that you should use that function more, and I used it for all of my videos up to this point, and now they've taken that option completely away. YouTube giveth and YouTube taketh away. So I don't know what that's about, but this is what we are at now. So we shall do this way from now on. Reframing it a little bit is okay. Yeah, it's still a good framing. It works for me. Hey, Michael Watson in the house. While we wait for more people to show up here, I will say that I have a new video out. I went ahead and released a little bit earlier than I thought I would. I thought I would put it out actually today, but I ended up putting it out on Monday afternoon. Uh, the video that goes kind of step by step of the processes that I went through in order to take a really, really beaten up 77 Greco Super Sounds and really transformed it into a beautiful instrument that I had to just kind of pat myself on the back and Fern give pat for Fern as well. Work that he and I did on that, it's beautiful. If you haven't seen that video, I start out tonight by suggesting you click onto videos, part of my YouTube channel, and it should be the first one up there. It's the newest one, and take a look at that. I kind of lied in that video a little bit. I wanted to know I had done a video a few weeks ago, a couple of months or two ago, restoration videos, and how in preparation for restoring this Greco, if anybody else had done a restoration on this kind of Greco guitar on YouTube, and I found out, and he seemed like he was, it was no audio, music in the background kind of thing, and just him filming the steps. But um, he made it seem as if that he was able to use all the original parts. When on this particular model Greco, it's a 3-position switch. And by the time he got done with his restoration, it suddenly magically turned into a 5-position switch. So on mine, when I say I kind of lied a little bit, it was about the frets. I said that, oh, it'd be no problem. I get that easily. I kind of breezed through that in the intro part of that video. That's a lie. That was a lot of work doing those frets, getting them level, crowned and polished. That was a lot of work. That was about 6, maybe a little bit more hours of work on that. And I that's the one thing that I can say that I did not enjoy, is that aspect of it. Now, Fern does that, but it was a choice of having him do it at 65 euros an hour or me doing it myself. And now I understand why I pay 65 euros an hour to Fern. But he actually gave me a little kudos. He said that I did a good job. So there's that. I don't know how many of those fret jobs that I would be doing in the future, but I respect. I have much respect for those out there who do it day to day because that was something, man. That was really really something. Well, yeah. So if you haven't checked that video out, again, go to my video section on my channel and be the first one at the top, newest one. And I do try to go through that step by step. I used this camera actually to film the vlog parts of where I was doing the cleaning and stuff, and got most of that. If I had put all the footage in, including the fret work, it had been a long video, and I didn't want to go more than 15 minutes. I thought you, I find that people's attention on YouTube kind of they actually show you where you hop off at, and it's it's not a lot of time. But I try to chop it down, but try to be as open as possible about how I did that to show that it actually can be done, and household goods on top of that. Ben Allmark in the house. Good evening. How are you, sir? Um, yeah, I and just household goods stuff that the proper tools, of course. But even those tools you can get to do that kind of work. You don't have to go to Stewie Mac. I always say, go to Stewie Mac, see what you need, and then look up the alternative. Believe me, you'll find it a lot cheaper, a lot cheaper. So that a lot of fun. Not a video that I expect to get a lot of views. Actually, to be honest with you, these days, good segue into my next tonight's topic. I've noticed these that actually my most popular video, and it's climbed. Is from 3 weeks ago, where I did the Squire versus the Greco early 60s, which actually, to be more accurate in that matchup, it had been better, closer if I did the Squire with this 600 that I just restored. But in any case, that video every day, I'm getting 100 views, climb, 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 climb. And it was one of those kind of castaway videos that I didn't have anything new to show, but I had to think of something in order to, fill in the spot. I wanted to do that, and it ended up being a topic that people really related to. And that's one of the things about doing YouTube videos is that I'm 422 videos now into this. I consider my YouTube channel to be really split into two parts. There was a Singapore part where I first started, and then there was, of course, here the Amsterdam part, which I actually consider the last 4 years really be the real genesis of this channel. And so, of course, it was great with the Singapore stuff, but I really didn't start, kicking until I got here. So I'll say for the past 4 years, or so doing YouTube here, I have noticed things. If you do enough videos, you start to recognize things, and also when you start to observe other people's channels, you start to observe things. If you're doing this, you kind of have a behind the scenes view of other people's videos. Let's put it that way, because you have a good idea of what's going on, um, for the most part. But one of the things that's coming up a lot recently is that I'm seeing with other YouTube channels. There was a gentleman the other day who was discussing this that he's just getting started, but I find quite fascinating. And he was talking about how he has to go through this cycle. He wants to have a YouTube channel, but in order to do that, and a gear channel, so he needs gear to review. So he found himself buying new guitars and reviewing those, and then selling those on, and at almost in every case at a loss. And in some cases, in some businesses, this can be be considered a loss leader if you think that the YouTube revenue is going to make up for the difference in that loss. In other words, is it going to provide enough revenue to make up for what I'm selling at a loss? Now, at the early stage of the game, the answer to that is no. You're not drawing, even if you pass that 1,000 mark, you're not going to draw enough revenue. So you get caught in this cycle. So I found that as a very interesting thing he was talking about. And I thought that since I've been in the game here for a minute as well, I would give my viewpoints on the subject. So tonight I wrote a script called The Tough Truth About Starting a Guitar Gear Channel. Now, I always like to say and that we're imagine us in a high school cafeteria. You got all the different tables with all the different cliques at it. You've got the gear guys like us at this table having lunch. You've got the golf club guys over here, the Pokemon cards guys over here, each in their own tables. And I would suspect that this discussion tonight would apply to most of those tables as well. So there is that to this as well. Um, so we're going to talk about how tough it is starting a YouTube channel. It's something that a lot of people don't talk about until they're deep in the trenches. Starting a gear channel is tough. It's tough. Get off the ground, and ironically, it can be even harder to keep going without drowning your bank account. That's like I said, that deadly loop where, like that guy was explaining, he's buying new guitars to review, and then he has to sell them at a loss in order to get some money to buy another guitar along with other funds, and that's no fun. Um, Now, today I want to discuss, from my experience, some of the pitfalls and common traps of starting a gear review channel, what to expect. Um, Avoiding the traps that'll leave you poorer than when you started. And believe me, I know of what I speak because there was a time where I too was buying the latest things, like for example, that Joe Bonamassa ES335 that I bought. You guys remember I bought it and reviewed it, and I hated the design of it. It just I removed the plate, but because it's got the soul power plate or something down, the star power soul power plate, something down at the bottom below the bridge, and I just hated it, and I ended up selling that at a loss, and I kind of learned a lesson from that. See, you know, I and a few others I sold at what I didn't make a profit, and I said this is not going to work. So I've been down there, and I found a solution that worked for me, and I'll share my solution and some of the things that I think that you can get you out of that trap today. If you're just getting started or you're feeling the strain, this one is for you guys. Now, let's be real for a second. Starting a gear review channel sounds like a dream for most of us, right? You get to play with amazing guitars, amps, and pedals, and maybe even work with some of your favorite brands. It's like being a kid in a candy store, I suppose. But here's the hard truth: it's often not what it seems. Many of us start with this glamorous idea. Whoops, I have a problem with lights. My number two light. This is the second number two light. I guess I'm just unlucky with lights. But this is all right. Let me check this. Yeah, that's fine. You know, um, a lot of us have our different reasons for starting a channel. Most of it really just stems from the fact we really love what we're doing. I would hope so. I hope that if you're over at the Pokemon card table, you're not faking it. But we really do love this stuff. And that's why people watch us as well. And then you start thinking to yourself, maybe you're that kind of guy who says, hey, you know what? I think I want to try to do that too, because I think I have something that I can add to the conversation. And you, of course, hope that it'll grow into a massive channel, uh, whichever ways you choose to make that happen. But the reality is actually a lot tougher. The first and biggest issue you face is the cost. You need gear to review, and unless you're independently wealthy or you struck some deal with a guitar dealership near you, there's Johan Segborn, his channel where he reviews a lot of stuff. He has tie-ins with the local music, and they loan him amps. They get a lot of vintage stuff in and guitars and stuff like that. So he's able to do that, and of course, in turn, it promotes their shop. And so, obviously, that's kind of a good scenario to be in. That is not the norm. That is not the norm. That is actually quite rare. Um, you're actually going to find out off the bat you're going to have to buy it yourself. Guitars, pedals, amps, and this stuff, as we have discussed, is expensive and getting more so. And when you're just starting out, you won't have brand partnerships or sponsorships to rely on. They will start to reach out to you. I certainly have had a few who've asked me to um, uh, sponsor something. I've chosen one, and that was the Loop brand earplugs. And the reason I did that is because they wanted it in Japanese. They wanted a bilingual kind of thing. And I said, fine. So I found that interesting. But the other ones I said no to. But that's a separate subject as to why that is. But either way, you're still going to find yourself mostly end up buying the gear out of your own pocket. Now, I've been there. As I said, I had to buy a guitar specifically for views, thinking it was an investment in my channel. And when that video didn't perform like I hoped, I was stuck with a piece of gear I didn't need and really couldn't afford to keep because I needed to move on to the next thing. And sure, you can sell it, but the resale market has and can be ruthless. And you end up sometimes mostly selling it for less than what you paid, losing money each time. Over time, this cycle of buy, review, sell at a loss can really add up. And it becomes financially draining. That's why so many new gear channels give up before they even really hit their stride. They get started, the YouTube graveyard is full of many of them that get started, but they get caught in this death cycle loop. Um, and like I only took me one or and actually I didn't have that problem in Singapore because I had a plethora of gear. When I got here, I sold off on some of that gear and I wanted to bring in new things. I found that in the beginning and I quickly cut that out. I said to myself, I've got to think of a better way in order to do this. Keep it interesting, but keep me from being bankrupt. Now, here's the part that surprises a lot of people. The first 1,000 subscribers aren't the hardest to get. In fact, they come faster than you expect. So, all you guys out there who are listening to this and considering starting, I will give you this bit. Uh, you post a few videos, friends, family subscribe, you share your content in guitar communities, and voila, before you're hitting that 1,000 sub mark, which is what you need to hit in order to start getting paid uh, for ads that YouTube will place on your videos. And again, when you start this off, you in your mind should be thinking to yourself, how much of this revenue is actually going to offset some of these expenditures. And and in the case of big channel, they draw in enough revenue, more than enough, keep that cycle going. But it took some steps in order to get there. Again, at this level where I'm at, and some of my partner friends' channels are at, we're still in that grind of having to buy if we want to go down that review route. Now, as you know, I stopped reviewing new guitars. If you look back over the last over a year now, you have not seen a new guitar on this channel, a new production guitar. And this is one of the reasons, one of the main reasons why I stopped doing that. Also, as you know, my conscious in terms of again the ecology aspect of it, going through 4 tractor trailer trucks a day of wood at the Court factory per shift is just something that I just eventually got to the point where I don't want to touch new guitars and I won't review them. But there's far more interesting things out there, which I'll discuss here in a minute. Now, here's where most people fall into the trap. You feel the pressure to keep churning out new content and to keep your audience engaged. You think you need to constantly review new gear. So, what do? You keep buying more gear, more pedals, guitars, amps, more whatever. Now, the spending ramps up, and since you're still a small channel, most companies won't send you free gear. So the cycle can, and when they do, it's like, could you review these earplugs or this wireless system? It's nothing that's of any kind of consequence. They're not going to send in you the latest Les Paul, trust me. You buy gear, you review it, you sell it at a loss. The debt starts to build unless you're earning a significant amount from YouTube, which most channels aren't at this stage. That's the other aspect of it. Even some of the higher channels are reporting that their ad revenues are dropping. There's a reason behind this, but that is a hard truth. And because you don't have that offset, then you are at a position where it becomes basically untenable. Martin in the house. Hello from England. Hey, welcome. We're just a short flight away from each other. Welcome. Good evening to you. Ravit, do you swap pickups on that Strat? Ravit, no, I did not. Please go and watch the video, and you'll see that those are the original XLs. All that needed to be done, so happens that I have the parts here next to me. The only thing that had to be replaced was the input jack. This is the original input jack from that guitar from 1977, and Fern did the electronics work, and that was it. The pickups are the original XLs, and really, really great sounding pickups. So thanks for asking. Thanks for watching that too, by the way. So you guys can see, I don't know. Many of you guys may not be aware of these realities for YouTubers because you're consumers and not participants. And so this is a reality. It gets to be kind of a cycle, and that's why a lot of channels burn out, or they'll buy a lot, at once, and then they'll have to sell those. But even in that case, the majority of them, I guarantee you, selling off at a loss, especially if they're new production guitars. Especially if they're new production guitars. Absolutely. Maurice, welcome. Welcome from the USA. Hey, I got an international audience going here tonight. I better not screw this. So, when I was writing the script for tonight's live stream, I really, had to. It's kind of I guess you could call it kind of like a flashback, or I guess I forget. It's like a psychosomatic kind of reaction I had because I just cringed when I thought of the things that I bought that I really, if I knew what I know now, I would not have done. I would have done a lot differently. Um, and Fortunately, in my case, like I said, I had a full recording studio, most of the in Singapore, from doing my commercial work, and I had a lot of things to review. Even translating over to here, I had a lot of stuff. So I was fortunate. I was in that category of I already had a bunch of crap anyway, so might as well talk about it. So I never dipped down, but I did find myself. Well, let's start by let's get inside. Let's talk about this newest Epiphone release. Nah, you do not want to go down that path if you can, because again, as I've pointed out here, there are pitfalls to doing it that way. But I don't want you to pack it up just yet. I don't want you to fret. As I said, there are ways to avoid this trap and keep your channel thriving without going broke. So, as Matty Two Hats would, if he was here, would remind me to keep it positive. That's what I like about Matty. He always says, "Keep it positive, Mike. Let's get negative, brothers. Let's put it back into positive territory." So I am doing that with a few tips. Start small, stay small. Start small, stay small. That would be the second motto of this channel. The first one is I'm good, meaning, hey, you know what I got, I'm good. You know, the second part of that is start small, stay small. Don't feel pressure to review the latest and greatest gear. Say that again. Do not feel pressured to review the latest and greatest gear. That is a trap. Old and new Adam Jones, such and such is coming out. It was, and everybody wanted to jump on that. And now you can get those guitars for, I've seen them as low as 900 euros when they were going for 15. I really have. Not the popular design back, some of the weirder ones, like the chicks laying in bed. You can get those for 900 all day long in some places. So, and unless you got one of the first ones and you were able to review it and quickly flip that, that was a situation where you would have been all right. No, it just would have been a problem. So don't feel the pressure to review the latest and greatest gear all the time. Start with what you have. Start with what you have. That's what I did. I started with what I had. Had a lot. That is true. Not there's cats out there who have a lot more. You know, Rick Beato, he could spend all day just going through his studio. Um, People are often more interested in your take on a piece of gear you already know and love rather than seeing the newest things. Because there's cats out there who are constantly referring to YouTube to act as their guide. It's weird. It's because YouTube is the Wikipedia of gear. Stick at our table. I'm sure it's true at other tables. But on our table, a lot of cats, first, when something comes up, they'll look it up on YouTube. Has somebody done a review of this? What is, and I really am finding that to be true. It's one of the reasons why I gear my videos, my regular content videos, to have a long tail to be reviewing things that I know that I may not be picking up a lot of steam right now, but over time it will be a steady trickle. And it's that kind of thing that you want to consider as well. Buying used gear can save you a ton of. I am the used gear king. I am the part king. Trying to be, getting there. Just buying parts, buying secondhand gear, buying that Greco Super Sounds that was just shot to hell. It you know. I thought it was water damage, but we once I opened up the cavity, there was no water damage in there. I have no idea how that thing got to be that rusty and dirty. It's like somebody hid it underneath a barn. That is a very dry barn, but a barn nevertheless. It is the weirdest thing. But by purchasing something like that extremely cheaply and being able to do the restoration work, you've got a couple of videos right there: the unboxing, the restoration work, putting it head to head against another guitar that you may have. There's a lot of options there. You can take that one piece of gear and work. And if you're careful, you can also sell it for close to what you paid. You know, I'm not losing money on these Japanese guitars. Just say that. And this is a better idea than what you could be doing. This minimalizes the financial risk of flipping gear. It minimalizes your risk. Secondhand. I've said almost every live stream. The secondhand market is your best friend. Whether you're a consumer or you're, a creator, the secondhand market is your best friend. And my gosh, to understand the secondhand market and all the options and all the things out there and worth and all the values is a lifetime journey that I'm going through. I just recently had somebody ask me to find them a guitar. They sent me an email and asked for me to find a guitar, and I believe I've almost narrowed it down because I knew where to look. So there's that. It can be your friend. So think about it. Gear is your friend. Borrow gear from friends or local stores. Now, this is an option that you could try. Hey, maybe you have a great relationship with your local mom and pop shop, and maybe they may not let you take something home, but they may let you film inside the shop. Most shops I found that I filmed in have been quite agreeable to that. Uh, that certainly is a way of adding content to your channel as well. Because, okay, I may not buy the latest thing, but if I hear it's in, maybe I'll go down to the shop and review it in the shop. That way, shop gets a little bit of advertisement. Hey, people are going to see this. I'm going to plug your shop. They'll come down. If you don't buy this piece of gear, somebody certainly will. So you always want to do a little give and take. The best kind of business negotiation is always win. So always think win-win scenarios as far as that's concerned. Um, don't just wait for the big brands to come knocking. Approach smaller boutique companies as well. They may be willing to work with smaller channels and gear your way in exchange for a review. You never know. If you again, it starts from something that you're passionate about. If you see a pedal that you really dig, you might look up who the manufacturer is. If it's a small boutique one, write to them and say, "Hey, I really like what you're doing. Is it possible that I could review that for you?" I mean, I tell you what, if you send me one, I'm not even saying I'm going to keep it. I will send it right back to you, and you can write a brief on how you. A brief is a description of the corporation and how they would like you to review it, and you can go that route. I did write once to a company, and they said your channel's a little too small. Get back to us when you grow up a little bit. So you don't let that kind of rejection put you off, because they didn't say no. They said, "Well, what you're doing, but we need to see a little bit more viewers on your part in order to bring some value on our end," and that's reasonable. So they may be willing to work with you. It doesn't hurt to ask. Get creative with content. This has all been ways of getting creative with your content. Remember, you don't always need new gear for every video. You don't. You know. I recently got a funny thing in. You guys are going to look at this and say, "What the heck is that?" Well, what it is, it's a trolley. It's a foldable trolley with heavy duty wheels and bungees. And what it does, and it extends out, fully. And what it does is it carries guitar cases. So my days of carrying a guitar case or lugging them over my shoulders, guys, is gone, because I am seriously developing back issues. you know, those unboxings look fun, but remember, I live in Amsterdam. I've got to carry those up quite a few flights of steps in order to get in. There's no elevator. And so when transporting guitars, especially from Vinendal, I want to have a caddy like this. And this is something that most people would never think about. But my Japanese guitarist, Keigo Mizutani and Asanoki, my Japanese Asanoki band, this is what he used to carry his gear around. He had his guitar in a case, and he had his pedal board in a case, and they both fit on this. And he wheeled this around everywhere, and he had no problems. And I always thought to myself, that is chobindi, or that is very handy. So one of these days, I'm going to get that. It took over a decade for me to get one, but I finally got one. And that's something that I can review completely out of the blue. By the way, not an expensive thing, about 40, 50 euros it'll cost you to get one, on up, depending upon. But for what I needed, this one works at about 40 euros. And I can review this and show how this is something that's extremely handy for the guitars, especially the gig guitars, or somebody, or the flipper, the guy who's got to carry guitars around. And so you got to get creative. Martin says, solid advice. If you can't compete with the sponsored mega channels, don't. It's not a level playing field. No, it is not. It is not. And but as the Joker said, the eye of the mind makes a movie. In other words, what you perceive is your reality, and so you create your own play. You do your own thing. But again, something like this is which I will. I'm actually going to review this coming up next. It's something out of left field. It's something that people would never even think about. And yet, it is one of the things that I really think that any gigging musician or guys like me who are moving a lot of equipment around all the time really shouldn't be without. Uh, my back is about to thank me immensely, trust me. And so that's something. It's in the, that it's related to our table, something the guys at the table would find interesting in discussion, and yet it's not a piece of gear that it's not, and it's something that's useful. It's something you actually want to keep. So be creative. Don't always feel the need to review new gear video. You can compare older pedals. I've done it. You can do deep dives into gear history. That's all they do over at Watt World. They've actually moved away from guitars, and now they're talking about the Fender Rhodes, for God's sake. Focus on educational content. I always try to focus on educational content on this channel. Probably one of the reasons why I'm not booming, because I'm not talking about Madonna's latest, slip up on because she's old as hell. I don't do that kind of stuff. I try to keep it educational. The last video that I put out on that Greco, I hope for the guys who are interested in doing restoration, I laid out all the ways that you, again, using just common household items, can clean the rust off your guitar or anything you're working on. So, again, educational content, that's another way of doing it. How to dial in the perfect tone. Again, a subjective thing, but it's it's a fun thing to chase. Isn't there a channel called Chasing Tone? And know your tone. That's know your gear. That's Philip McKnight. It's a different thing. Talk about recording techniques. I've talked about that. Gear maintenance. Talked about that. That way, you're not stuck in a cycle of constantly buying and selling gear. Um, you think of long tail videos. Again, what I mean by that are videos that you're viewing something that is not necessarily new, but it's something that that is good. Like, for example, a rat pedal. There's thousands of reviews by this point on rat pedals, but believe it or not, even so, they still pick up each and every one of them. Still better ones, a little bit more so. They still are picking up views even 10 years later. That's a real long tail on that. So you're covering something that's not just the latest fad. I don't know if who the hell is going to be looking at the axe effect in 10 years, because there's going to be something completely different by that point. You know it, I know it. So that's an example of a latest piece of gear that has not stood the test of time. It doesn't have any kind of history to it, like a tube screamer, for example. That's been around since I was a kid, and that was back in time Cleopatra was hanging on. So that's not that bad. But the point of it is that the latest and greatest thing is a trap in terms of your long term content, because you know there's amps out there that we've discussed that the software of which are no longer available, you know, and who's going to be looking up that amp anymore when it's just an expensive weight sitting in somebody's garage? It's not something that's going to be put out on the market to be resold, that a new generation come in and say, "It's that. Let me go on YouTube and find out what it is." So again, get creative. Get creative. Start thinking creatively. Hey, we got whites in us. Is that how you pronounce that? How are you? I'm from Italia. Do you prefer rolled pizza dough or dildo? I ain't a dildo type myself. So we're gonna have to go with the rolled pizza dough on that one. You're a funny guy. Welcome to the channel. I like it when we get a little levity in here. Break things up. That's a good one. Um, All right. So, building a successful gear review channel is a long game. A long game. And I myself am trying to hit 5,000 subscribers. And I'm building up, but it is a slow process. However, I don't fret. I perceive and I see that if I keep, again, solid content, engaging, reaching out to people, I'm even starting up my Instagram. I swore I wouldn't do it, but I'm starting up my Instagram again. Upstairs to the right music channel on Instagram, and promoting, and I will reach that goal eventually. But I don't get down because it's not happening at the rate that I would like it to. I have my conspiracy theories. Sometimes you're like, yeah, maybe this is, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or whatever. But for the most part, it's okay because I do realize it's a long game and I enjoy what I'm doing. Building a successful your channel is going to take time, effort, and patience. But if you're smart about how you manage your finances and content strategy, you can avoid the pitfalls that cause so many to fail and burn out. Remember, it's not about having the most expensive or latest gear. It's not about having the latest or most expensive gear. It's not. Of course, people love to see that stuff. Oh boy, I got this clone for $5,000. Somebody once had a comment about, and that of course generated a, what, you paid 5,000 for a pedal? Of course sometimes, but for the most part, you don't need the latest Epiphone inspired by. You don't need the latest Fender American whatever that it is this year. You don't need that stuff. It's about creating engaging content that resonates with your audience. And that is a process that I didn't know what this channel was going to be. I knew I was going to talk about gear and things, but I really didn't have a clear vision as to where or what the core of this channel was. Again, until my second phase when I got here to Amsterdam. And then I began to really see what this channel is. And so that takes time as well. But if you do that and your audience sees that it's really, this is me. What you guys see is what you get. There's no Hollywood filters here. Um, and I, my story, my background. That's another thing that I always recommend. Let people know about who you are. Like, let them know your background. You don't have to tell them your bathroom schedule, but a little bit of knowing who the artist or creator is a very helpful thing as well. That's the antithesis of the Hollywood system that I grew up in growing in LA. In LA, it was shields, barriers, walls from the public. I told you I went to many a Hollywood party where I just saw celebrities of the time acting in ways that are like, oh my God, these people are free animals. And nowadays, that's pretty open. It's pretty obvious and it being exposed. But again, people like to see and know who their artists are, flaws or no. Like, for example, I'll be honest with you. Seriously, I have serious pain going right now on this side of my body from lifting up a guitar case over it, taking it down to Ferns the other day. And this roller cart could not have come at a better time. I really think that my days of lifting a lot of heavy stuff like that is over. I'm going to have to start adapting as I get older. And I'm in pretty good shape, by the way. But you guys know my story. I tell you about what's going on, and I suggest if you are trying to create a YouTube channel, you do the same. Be honest, be yourself. If you build it, maybe they'll come. No guarantees, but maybe so. So there you have it. Starting a guitar gear review channel can be tough to get going, but it doesn't have to end in burnout and financial strain. Stay smart with your gear purchases. One, Get creative with your content too. And above all, keep your passion for music alive. Most important, number three. Actually, that should be number one, because it's when you lose your passion for this is when you burn out. There are a lot of bigger channels where I say, you know, guys, I know you haven't seen me for a little while, but I've just been burnt out for the above before, because even when you are being creative, you know, and life happens, and sometimes you don't feel like being creative. And when you're on this treadmill where you have to be creative, that is the key to success on YouTube. It could burn you out. But if you have your passion for music alive in you, then I don't think it really goes. You just try to find another way to make it interesting. If you got any kind of thoughts of your own, if you're watching this, I'd love to hear it down in the comments section. So those are my 3 points. Again, if you have a fourth or a fifth or sixth, or even here tonight in the comment section, I'd like to hear from you. Start with your gear purchases, get creative with your content, and keep your passion for music going. So, you know, I just really think that that's what it comes down to. Um, I have to be honest with you, I love restoring things. It's one of my not just guitars, but old furniture, um, older electronics, things of that nature. I remember when I was a kid, I got this mock-up telephone, and I tore that whole thing apart to figure out how it works, how the diaphragm in the phone. We're talking about old phones that had diaphragms in order to vibrate to send the electronic signal to talk. But tore it apart, put it back together again, um, and that's kind of where restoration work like on the Greco it shows. You can see from the way that that turned out that I really love doing that work, and I'm a little obsessive about it. I was scrubbing and pushing parts on that guitar. I would set it down, you know, fingers just black and are aching. I'd set it on its stand. I'd sit down because I keep it in my living room when I'm working on them, and sit on my couch. I'm watching TV, and I'll turn my head and I'll look at it, and something just won't be shiny or enough, and I'll go over there and I'll start polishing, and you know, but I really like that, you know, and the results speak for themselves. So, you know, again, you have to be passionate about it, and you know, you have to like it, and you have to want to do this. So, in this video, uh, if this live stream tonight, the script that I wrote, the tough truth about starting a guitar gear channel resonated with you, then I did tonight. I know this is not for everybody, not everybody's interested in starting a guitar gear channel, or but you may be interested in the snowplow channel. I don't know. It'd be awfully seasonal, but yeah, sure. You know, it applies. Everything that I just said applies as well. And don't go out there and start buying snowplows, you know, and reviewing them and then selling them at a loss. You don't want to do that. No, I think this applies across the board to to whatever channel you're trying to do on YouTube. But in the gear zone, it's particularly ugly. It's particularly ugly, and I've seen again, and I'm sure you guys as well, of seeing channels that started out great, but they just disappeared. And most of the time, the reason is because of that. But I hope that these tips, things that I do, what I laid out here tonight, is what I do. It's you know, I wrote this, so I wrote it from my experience and how I perceive it now. Will this change? Will this refine? Yeah, I'm sure I can think of other ways and other things. Certainly, watching other YouTube channels, you can learn. from them. People teach you two things: what to do, and what not to do. And so, by observing other folks, you can learn those two things without avoiding the pitfalls of what to do type type guys through just observing them. But yeah, don't get in that pitfall. Don't this. Don't get that. I've got to review the latest. Leave that for I don't know who does that anymore. Leave that for the manufacturers and their studios and their high production values and on videos that get less views than, frankly, some of mine. But don't let it be something that you feel you have to do. That's my biggest thing. And what started that again was that gentleman saying that's exactly what he found himself doing. Uh, and really, I really identified with what he was saying. I was like, yeah, I've been there, man. I've certainly been there, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that, because you will not last and you will not be happy. And how can you do a new piece of gear that you don't really know? No, you know, well, let me strike that. You can do that, but how are you going to review a piece of gear that that has no history? You know, I just feel that there's so many other pieces of gear out there that have such a rich history to them. Those are the ones that I'm interested in. And everything else, the new stuff, it doesn't have much of a history there. It's still writing. Um, and it could go either way. So, couple things there, guys. Couple of things there tonight. How are we doing here? Oh, wow. We've reached an hour. Well, I sat down. I said, I know now because I've written enough of them. I know how long an hour script is when I start writing. Ironically, it takes me about an hour to write. And I've been timing these out perfectly. I'm going to keep this, and that was good. That timed out perfectly. What's coming up? Well, I'm going to be reviewing this cart thing. So I am going to give practical. I'm going to film myself on the streets of Amsterdam using this. Even more entertaining coming up. Take because I've got to take a guitar to Fern. And I actually picked the one up that caused this pain in my side. I got to pick it up from Fern, so I'm taking that with me, and we're going to film that and talk about, you know, there are different ways of carrying guitars. I'm going to go through. I've got a few here behind me, but I think at the end of the day, for the gigging musician, this thing is absolutely and it holds up very nice and neat and can fit in a backpack. So it's got a lot of things going to it. Matty Two Hats. Hey, I was talking about you, man. I kept it positive tonight. I had my little Matty Two Hats on my shoulder saying, keep it positive, Mike. So I did. You'll see that in the replay. Thank you for showing up, man. Yeah, so I'm going to be reviewing that. And that's not, again, like I said, it's gear related, but it's certainly something to make your life a lot easier. I know it's certainly going to make mine a lot easier coming up here. Um, yeah, I can't do it. These things are not light. And when they ship in, I'm shipping two of these with the guitars in the case at a time, and I'm bringing those up myself, and then individually taking down to Fern, or sometimes collectively taking down to Fern to have the setup. I don't have the time or inclination to do it, or if it needs something more or if I need him, he sees everything that comes in and he says, this is fine, this can go, this one needs this, you should do that. And we have a great relationship that way. But again, this, um, you know, it weighs on you. So I'm going to show how this cart is going to be a back saver. And I hope that video helps. I may hold off on that. I just released one, so maybe that's coming up actually this weekend, more or less. Sunday at Mike's, as usual. I have no topic as usual. I will think of one. Certainly, something will come along to inspire me. So, Sunday at Mike's, same bad time, same bad channel next week. For all you guys that are new here to the channel, if you like tonight's live stream, please take the time to remember to hit the like button. 10% of the people who watch my videos will hit the like button. If I could move that number up to 50%, that would be fantastic. So don't forget to do that. Also, again, I have a dream of getting to 5,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Another one of the reasons I started doing Instagram again to try to reach out to another venue to get people to be interested. If you haven't subscribed and you like this live stream tonight, I would like you to consider joining this community. We have great guys like Michael Watson, Ben Allmark, Martin in the house tonight, Maurice in the house tonight, Ravit in the shop, in the house in the shop tonight, Ben, all you guys, Mr. Watson, all you guys, all Betty too. Think Tall Thin Kev. I know you didn't make it here tonight. You'll watch it in the rerun. Thank you, sir. All you guys. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to support this channel. I hope you liked this one. I hope it was informative, educational, and interesting. Uh, until the next one, you guys take care. Bye bye.